Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. As I always say, it massively helps out the channel and it's never expected but always appreciated. And let's crack on with today's first story. Now, today's first story comes from Virtual Fly 4632, who says, "Am I the arsehole for telling my neighbors that I don't care for their living situation?" I know the title sounds bad, but hear me out. I recently relocated to Orlando from Miami. I moved to some apartments that most would consider really nice. Not high-end or anything, but definitely nice. Miami was just too expensive, which is the reason for my move. So, because I work from home and I have 2 dogs, I wanted to get a 2-bedroom apartment. One that can be an office that I can work from and one for me to sleep. After having my office in the same room I slept in my last home. Still live with my mum. It felt suffocating, like if I never got to escape work. This has been much better for me mentally and I feel like I'm actually leaving work after I close my laptop. So I've been here for about a month and recently saw a family moving in. I'm very introverted, so I didn't introduce myself or anything. The only time I really ever have contact with anyone is when someone is walking their dog at the same time I am and our pups want to say hello to each other. Very quick small talk and then we're on our way. Today, as I was going back inside after walking my dogs, I saw the wife and I just gave a friendly smile. Nothing more. I decided I should throw the trash out before I clock in for the day just to get it out of the way. As I was walking back to my apartment, the wife stopped me to introduce herself. I introduced myself as well. She then asked if I lived with a girlfriend or anything. I told her no, it's just me and the pups. She gave me a strange look that I can only describe as annoyed. She asked if my apartment had 2 bedrooms. I told her yes, that there are 2 bedrooms. She asked me why I wanted 2 bedrooms when I live alone, and I explained to her the office/sleeping thing I mentioned above. Now this is the part where I may be the arsehole. She said that it was really inconsiderate and rude to bigger families to take up a 2-bedroom apartment by myself. That her family of 4, husband, wife, 2 kids, have to share a 1-bedroom because people like me decide to steal the 2-bedroom apartments. I said that it sucks that you feel that way, but there's nothing that I can do. She said I should trade apartments with her. I thought she was joking, so I just started laughing. Not a nervous laugh or anything, but I just genuinely found her suggestion hilarious. I then said that a living situation doesn't concern me, and if she wanted a 2-bedroom apartment, she should have looked harder. She said she was going to report me to the building, and I said she should include report me to DeSantis, Florida's governor, while she's at it. I went inside and left her there screaming like a crazy person. Am I the arsehole? Now stories like these always bring me to the days of when we covered entitled people a lot, or entitled parents even, and they're trying to take apartments, toys, just random stuff. And I think in reality, you know you're not the arsehole in this situation. The way she was acting is not normal. I would have got very cross very quickly, about her being so nosy about your living situation. It was none of her business. I mean, fine, if you've known this person for a while and the conversation came up and you talk about your living situation, then absolutely fine. But the first time you meet someone, you're going, "Oh, you got a girlfriend? You living in that place all by yourself? There's 2 bedrooms, is it? How dare you? I mean, come on now." You simply rented an apartment that met your needs, and it's simple as that. But our first commenter says, "I think laughter was the appropriate reaction. Next time, just ignore her and her family completely. Consider getting a doorbell camera because these people are clearly unhinged. Not the arsehole." Opie replied saying, "Yeah, that's the plan. Just never want to interact with them again. The doorbell camera I've had for some time, so definitely keeping that motion sensitivity as high as possible." Sloppy Poopy Poppy says, "Not the arsehole. I very much doubt there are no other 2-bed apartments in the place where you live. She should just rent one of those. She's being a mooch." To which Opie replied saying, "I'm not trying to justify her reasoning, but I'm not going to lie. There was a wait list for these apartments. I actually had to wait about 6 months from the time I applied to when I actually got the keys. Maybe she was in a sink or swim situation and got whatever she felt was the quickest solution." The Riker Maneuver says, "Not the arsehole. Immediately report this as harassment to the building management. You need to document this before she starts spewing lies. I would also recommend getting a camera for inside your apartment that records both audio and video. Because I would not be surprised if she starts complaining about your dogs barking in an effort to get you evicted. Cover your ass and start preparing for war. Particular viewer says not the arsehole, you can live in a 4,000 square foot mansion if you can afford it. It's no one's business. You really might need to get a doorbell camera. Your neighbor sounds like she could escalate. Andrique says, I used to live in Orlando and I'm looking to move back once my PR kicks in. I frequently look at both rental and housing prices because while I plan to buy, I don't know if we're going to find something right away, so renting may be on the cards for us. With that being said, there are loads, I mean tons of 2+ bedrooms available across the city. This woman cornering you and berating you is odd, but also considerably more odd when she can simply move elsewhere. You are not the arsehole for living how you live and not caring about a literal stranger's living situation. Now, we're going to move on to that update to find out what OP, or the other person, did next. So OP comes in with, first off, I want to thank every one of you guys for your messages and comments. I really did think for a moment that I may have been a dick to the lady, but I guess it's just a crappy situation due to the affordable housing issue going on. So to update you guys, I did not report her. Although she probably deserves it, I decided against it. She's probably some angry mum who more than likely had her back against the wall with everything life has thrown at her. Yes, she was being unreasonable, but I can imagine the stress of a parent is bad. This is not me excusing her, but trying to empathize. With that being said, she did piss someone else off. Not sure if it was the same reason as me, but I heard her screaming at someone else. I guess the guy she screamed at decided to report her to management. I haven't seen any moving trucks or anything, but I've only seen the husband and the kids leaving the apartment. It looks like life is going on as usual, but to avoid eviction after having her just moved in, I can only assume the husband has set some boundaries regarding her yelling at people. Sorry it's not as juicy as an update, but it's a crappy situation for her and her family, and she was probably stressed to a boiling point. Thank the guy that did report her though, the rest of the residents living here can at least be at peace without her craziness and entitlement. Now, what do you guys make of this situation? What would you have done? Would you have taken the road that OP did and tried to empathize with their situation, or would you have reported that immediately? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story was a suggestion over on Twitter from Nathan, who says, Hi Mark, check this one out. The post is Am I the Arsehole? Incredibly infuriating OP with updates that makes your head explode. But let's get involved. Thank you, Nathan. And it's from Sockno7319, who says, Am I the arsehole for changing the locks back after my wife changed them? I, 30 male, have a beautiful wife who loves to serve others. We bought a home down the street from my family. I have a sweet sister, 17, who likes to crash at our house with her friends. My wife normally is pretty easygoing until recently. My sister's friends have been leaving messes, mostly towels on the floor after using our pool. My wife got upset picking up after them every day. I've asked my sister to make sure the house is clean after they leave, and it has been better. My wife also complained that some of her perfumes and clothes and personal items have gone missing. My sister said it's not her. I believe my sister, I just don't see her doing that. I told my wife and we agreed to just replace them. Last week my wife made a couple of pans of cinnamon rolls from scratch. One pan was for us, the second pan was for a co-worker's family who is experiencing a tragedy. My wife went to the gym and I went to work and my sister and her friends came by. One pan wasn't enough for her and her friends. They wanted the second pan of cinnamon rolls and my sister texted my wife asking if they could eat them. My wife said no. They ate them anyways. My wife, upset, went and bought new locks. When I came home, my wife handed me a new key and told me she didn't want anyone else to have a key to our house. I tried to calm her down and tell her that I would just go replace the eaten cinnamon rolls with store-bought ones. My wife decided this was a hill to die on and said no, my sister lost the privilege to come when we are not home. Replacing stolen items wasn't good enough anymore. My mum called and asked if my sister could use the pool as a back-to-school party. I was under the impression my mum would be there. I said yes. My mum was at work and our schedules clashed. The easiest solution was for me to change the locks back so they could come into the house. My mum didn't come with my sister. When my wife got home after the party, it was a mess. She sent me photos. She called me the arsehole for changing the lock without talking to her about it. Keep in mind, she did too. then told me I broke her trust. She wasn't safe in her home because she keeps getting robbed and I refused to put an end to it. I did talk to my sister. Then my wife let me know she was staying with a friend for a while. Am I the arsehole here? I feel like I've tried to put right any wrongs that have happened between my wife and my sister. And we do have a couple of updates on this one as well, which Nathan told us about, and apparently they're going to get worse, so we'll cover that in a moment. Now, Nathan said this was going to be infuriating, and it absolutely was so far. And it was the first paragraph that I thought, this is not going to be good all the way through this. I'm going to read it just one more time. It said, I, 30 male, have a beautiful wife who loves to serve others. Boy, oh boy. We bought a home down the street from my family, and I have a sweet sister, again, oof, 17, who likes to crash at our house with her friends. So wife in this has finally had enough of, her boundaries being stomped on time and time again. You not actually fixing the situation with your sweet sister. Givers. And just allowing her to keep disrespecting your wife by taking her items, eating those cinnamon rolls. Instead of tackling sister, it's no, we'll just replace the items and, then sister can continue doing what she wants to do and disrespecting your wife even further. And then you say it's your wife's hill to die on. I mean, come on, man. But Chili89 says, in quotes, my wife is tired of being robbed and basically used as a maid by my sister. So I let my sister do it again. Am I the arsehole? Then goes on to say, I wonder why so many stories of family conflict are on here have always the same pattern. One person lets the family abuse their partner because they are family. Baker says, her hill to die on. Yeah, Buddy has been building to that, and his head was so far in the sand he didn't see how disrespectful his sister was being. Especially that they asked about the cinnamon rolls, and when the answer wasn't what they liked, they went ahead anyways. I'd be so upset with him that he didn't follow up to make sure that when allowing the sister back, that it would be supervised. She changed the locks to feel secure in her house and immediately updated him. He changed the locks to let the freeloaders back in because it was too difficult to just be there when they were using the pool. Cannibal Flossing says, or to translate, my wife went to the effort of specifically baking rolls. My sister stole those rolls that my wife took time to make, breached her boundaries, and my solution was just to buy some store-bought rolls. I'm a fucking hero. And one more from Ginger Anarchy who says, OP is in for a rude awakening when his wife just doesn't come back into his open arms. He's going to have to prove that these changes will stick and be permanent, as his mother and sister have trampled over his wife and his goodwill, and he's too much of a doormat to see it. Even still at the end, he's whinging about his wife changing the locks without telling him, and how he has already talked to his sister. He doesn't get it and is about to have a wake-up call because his wife is completely done with his family, if not fully him as well. So OP's first update said, sorry I haven't been able to reply the past couple of hours. I have been busy. I talked to my mum again and let her know my sister isn't allowed over without me home. I asked a friend's wife who is a maid to come deep clean our home. So if/when my wife comes home, it's clean. The last thing is my mum asked me to help cover my sister's cheer. She's on track for a scholarship. I told my mum I would pay when half of my wife's things were returned. If not, the money was going to replace the stolen items. Also, my sister was invited to homecoming. She wanted to buy a dress. I told her no for not following our home rules, and the money I save for the dress is going to pay for the maid. I did replace the locks again. I am planning a romantic dinner I will make and clean up. I heard a lot about the cinnamon rolls. Someone on here gave me the idea to make them. I am for a dessert. Update 2, which came on the same post. My sister and my mum left a few minutes ago. My sister had a bag of my wife's things, more than I thought was gone. Most items are in poor shape. The big thing is, she had my wife's grandmother's ring I thought was in the safe. I had no idea it was gone. My sister said that she found it on my wife's nightstand during the party. She forgot she had it on when she left our home. The ring isn't valuable, it's just sentimental. I told my mum who the ring belonged to. My mum lost it. My sister is now grounded. And then one more relevant comment from OP. No, my wife isn't home. I did ask her to come back. The dinner is for tomorrow because I need time to make the rolls. I will post an update again. Yes, some of my wife's things have come back, including a ring that was my wife's grandmother's. My wife normally keeps it in a small safe. She must have taken it out when she changed the locks. The ring isn't valuable, it belonged to her grandma and loves to wear it. Last, yes, I get that I am an arsehole and handled this wrong. What is with that update, man? I was reading, like you said, I would help cover your sister's cheerleading thing, I think it is. But only when she returns half of your wife's things. Not all of them, just half. You can keep the other half. And to me, it may not be, but to me it felt like you just played down the ring as well. You kept saying the ring isn't valuable, it's just sentimental. I don't know, man. This update, it doesn't make me feel like things are going to go well in the future. It doesn't sound like the sister's going to learn anything. He hasn't learned anything. It just sounds all up in the air still, and we're going to probably see more of this in the future. How about you guys? As always, I would love to know your thoughts down in the comments below if you have a moment of your time. Let's move on to a cheeky little story. And I think, as we sometimes do, we're going to just finish it off with a little wholesome story I found from Meow1983, who starts off by saying, I was in Walmart one day and some dude was blocking the aisle where the item I needed was located. I then heard him ask a Walmart employee where the cabinet liners were. She proceeded to say she wasn't sure and started to send him to the wrong location. I nosily piped up, I know where they are. If you want to follow me, I will take you to them because I just bought some last week. The man replied, oh, okay, thank you. He followed me to the opposite side of the store and I showed him where they were. He thanked me again and I hurried back to the other side of the store to get what I needed. 5 minutes later at the self-checkouts, the man showed up and I saw him just hanging around with his bag of purchases on his arm. When it came to time to pay, he stepped up and insisted on paying for my items. I thanked him profusely. At the time, I only had $35 in my bank account and was trying to purchase food for the week. This man, who I was so annoyed with, helped me so much. I still tear up when I think of his kindness. I'm a single mother of 2 wonderful kids and this was my miracle. And I've got to do one more because I absolutely love these wholesome stories at the end. They always get me going and make my day a little bit better, and I hope they make yours too. This one's from Ursula Winchester, who says, my cousin and I visited London a few years ago and got a great deal on a private champagne experience at the London Eye. Likely because it was at 10 AM on a Tuesday. There was a huge elementary school field trip that day, so the capsules before and after us were filled to the brim with like a bazillion 10-year-olds. We can see them being ridiculous and dancing and dabbing and taking selfies in their pods, and they're looking at us thinking, I assume, who are these 2 extremely classy ladies in a pod of their own drinking champagne? I catch the eye of one of the kids and I suddenly dab, so the pod erupts with all the kids dabbing. They were so happy, but I felt a bit awful for the chaperones who were unprepared for such a sudden ruckus. Kids on school trips are the funniest. I remember one situation where I was driving down like the A34 motorway close by me, and as I was driving along, I was behind a bus and you could see it's full of school kids. You know, they're always prattling about in the back. You can see them bouncing about, hands everywhere, and then suddenly they're looking at you, staring at you, and they do dab or whatever, and you copy them and then they absolutely love it. And the worst thing is you then get stuck behind them in traffic, and it's like the most awkward minutes of your life after you just dabbed at some kids and then you're suddenly staring at them and they're like, do it again. Calling more kids to the back of the bus to watch you. Perform for us. Do another dab. Ah, dearie me. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me today and listening to a story or two, getting involved. As I said, if you do have a moment of your time, it'd be super helpful if you could click that like button. As I said, no pressure though. I know it's all extra time, isn't it? We're busy people and all that. But thank you so much, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Man, I remember being so naive when life was good, weather and palm trees. Back in the day, you were everything I need. But then along came a time when you crushed my dreams. Oh yeah, you played me like a fool when you made me believe that the line between love wasn't thick enough to read. Oh yeah, you see we in the spare crime everywhere. You're selling false hope cause you just don't care. Nah, you just don't care. Nah, you just don't care. You just don't. Still selling false hope cause you just don't care. House, feel me. If we talking to a uniform, who the real? You know we in the deep south, so let's keep it real. This is what they used to mob, lynch, drag, and kill. I never made the party cause I felt the paper bag. Just gotta get this money cause you know I never had it. I'm feeling like Badu, the way I carry my baggage. This heavy load on my shoulders might turn me to a savage. Is that why I gotta fight to get respect? That's a shame, who's to blame? I don't know, but all I know is that we still rocking them chains. Still taking that whip, still trying to get